Greetings and a fair warning. This video is going to talk about some things that could be triggering. If you aren't in a good space right now, you might want to watch it at a later time. So why would I want to talk about 13 of the worst symptoms we go through? I assure you it isn't to dwell on the negative or make you feel bad. I think it's important for our friends, family, and other loved ones to understand some of the challenges we face living with bipolar disorder. Unless people are directly impacted by the illness, there's no sense of urgency to learn about it. That said, most people have a very rudimentary understanding of what we go through. They know we go up and they know we go down. That's about it. For those of us living with bipolar, we know it's so much more. The way I came up with this list was by asking the 10,000 members of our Facebook community what they felt were the worst symptoms we experience. They aren't in any specific order except for the first one, so let's get started. Voted most problematic was mixed episodes. A mixed episode is when we experience both mania or hypomania and depression at the same time. That might not sound like a big deal, but it's absolutely horrible. For me, I feel like I'm paralyzed with depression, but also crawling out of my skin with anxiety and agitation. I've done some of the worst damage to my life and relationships while in mixed episodes. Number 2 is bipolar anger or rage. There's a big difference between anger and bipolar anger. Typical anger usually has a specific cause. Bipolar anger often does not. Most people experience bipolar anger during dysphoric mania or during psychosis. If you don't know what dysphoric mania is, it's basically another word for mixed episodes. Anger absolutely can be a symptom of depression also, but it's a little less common. Number 3 really saddens me. We actually have a lower life expectancy. On average, we live anywhere from 8 to 12 years less than people without bipolar disorder. Our risk of death is nearly 3 times greater than the general population. It just goes to show how hard bipolar is on our mind, body, and soul. Number 4 is medication side effects, among the worst being weight gain. With all the technology that exists, it's disappointing that we don't have better ways of treating mental illness. Doctors have no idea if a medication is going to work for us until we try it. Often the side effects become worse than the benefit of the medication, and we have to start all over again. At least we are starting to see newer meds on the market with fewer side effects. Genetic testing is also showing promise, so things are slowly getting better. Number 5 is hypersexuality. I'm not talking about someone with a high sex drive. I'm talking about a life-destroying preoccupation with sex. I'm talking about cheating on our partners, engaging in unprotected sex, and even deviant behavior that otherwise would never exist outside of a bipolar episode. Hypersexuality can be cyclic in that it comes and goes with the changing of our symptoms. More sexual when manic and less sexual when depressed or stable. Now, it's important to know that not everyone with bipolar cheats on their spouse or is a sexual deviant, okay? Those are more extreme examples, and everyone copes with symptoms differently. Moving on to number 6. This would be manic spending, sometimes to the point of financial ruin. With mania comes things like disinhibition or not fearing consequences. It's much easier to make impulsive, spontaneous, or risky decisions with money. Buying a new toy is exciting and it feeds the mania. A lot of the things I spent money on were just a means to an end, a way to chase the feelings I got from mania. If you need help with manic spending, I actually have a video with 12 tips on how to manage it better. Now for number 7, the way people treat us after they find out we have bipolar disorder. The stigmas surrounding mental illness are devastating. People avoid us. Medical professionals treat us differently. Some assume that we're using it as an excuse or faking it. We get skipped over for job promotions, or worse yet, people think we're dangerous. It's really disheartening. One of the reasons why I started this channel was to help eliminate stigmas about bipolar disorder. Number 8, as someone on Facebook so eloquently put it, The episodes of soul-crushing depression that feel like they'll never end. Depending on the type of bipolar we have, some of us can experience depressive episodes that last for months, or in some cases years. Think about that for a minute. Hundreds of days in a row of unbearable depression. It's like having a toothache of the soul that won't stop throbbing. In some cases, our body shuts down like we have the flu and we become catatonic, unable to move, eat, or take care of ourselves. Bipolar depression is an ugly monster. Number 9. This one is the reason why I work so hard as a mental health advocate. Between 25 and 60% of people with bipolar disorder will attempt suicide at least once in their life, and I'm one of them. I know what it's like for things to get that bad and just how quickly it can happen. 1 in 5 of us do not survive this illness. Proper treatment can dramatically increase our chances of not only surviving, but thriving. Number 10. Many people with bipolar forego having children because they are afraid of passing the illness down to the next generation. If one parent has bipolar, the chances of their child developing it is around 10%. If both parents have bipolar, the percentage jumps up to around 40%. Raising a child with serious mental illness is a legitimate concern. It's partly why I never had children myself, and that bothers me sometimes. Now for number 11. This would be psychosis and the delusions that can come with it. For those of us with type 1 bipolar, we have a 40 to 60% lifetime chance of experiencing psychosis during mania or mixed episodes. Symptoms range from mild to wild. In extreme cases, people may hallucinate or lose touch with reality. We can also have grandiose delusions that are so real, it's impossible to convince us otherwise. I've been hospitalized several times during psychosis and live in constant fear of experiencing that again. The reason why I treat my illness so aggressively is to prevent mania and psychosis. Moving on to number 12, the grief and shame we experience. I've done a lot of damage to my life and relationships while manic. Once the mood shifts to depression, it's compounded by all the regretful things I said or did when I was manic. I also grieve being diagnosed in the first place. I feel extreme shame over the relationships I destroyed, the jobs I lost, and the money I spent, among other things. I could easily go on, but we're going to stop today at number 13. Sometimes we can get hypersensitive to our environment while symptomatic. Loud music, bright lights, strong odors, and even being touched can become overwhelmingly intense. I have a very hard time going grocery shopping or hanging out at a busy cafe when I get hypersensitive. I feel so overstimulated that my anxiety goes through the roof. It's frustrating and debilitating. I know this was a really heavy video to watch, especially if you live with the illness yourself. I had a hard time just doing the research for it. These aren't what you'd call fun facts. They are stark reminders of the hardships we face on a daily basis. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I hope that this helps others to realize how real the struggle is. There's a reason why I call us warriors. We endure things that others can't even imagine. On a final and positive closing note, I made another video that talks about 10 things that aren't all bad about bipolar disorder. It talks about some of the more redeeming qualities of the illness. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend watching it. It's a nice contrast after watching a video like this one. You might not know this, but you can call me on the phone, text me, and participate in live peer support groups by joining my Patreon community. We have an amazing group of people who have joined. If you're looking to expand your support circle, it's a fantastic way of connecting with fellow polar warriors. There's a link in the video description if you'd like to check it out. Thank you so very much for spending this time with me. Take extra good care of yourselves, and I'll be back here soon with more Polar Warrior videos. Stay well.